enthusiastically approached us earlier this year to let us know, at this time, nearly a decade after receiving his most heartfelt wish, he wanted to share his experience publicly. This is his chance. We are so pleased to have him here with us this morning. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mark Kelly.
When I was talking to my uncle who lives in Arizona here, he came to see me speak today, about the things you go through before you get ready to give a speech. Everyone says, you're nervous, how you're handling it. I really don't get too nervous. My uncle said that's a bad sign because then you tend to be boring. So if I bore anybody, try to throw things at the screen, don't try to throw other than that, everybody has hints from public speaking and things that they tell you to do. If you focus on a certain point in the back of the room, others have the famous, well, picture everyone naked. I'd rather not do that, so I didn't know Clyde Drexler was going to be here today. Clark. They haven't said anything to me, though. My wish weekend was, or my original wish was to go meet Magic Johnson, who I was his best fan. I thought, growing up, watching him play at the Forum, it always was a dream of mine to go watch him play a game out in California. But living on Long Island, I never got that chance. So when Make-A-Wish approached me when I was in the hospital, that was my wish, to go meet Magic Johnson, to go see a game at the Forum. Unfortunately, at the same time that I had the wish, Magic came down with his HIV infection. So that wish I had to renege on, and they asked me what else I would like to do. Grew up an athlete, loved college basketball. I don't know if any of you know a guy named Dick Vitale, but growing up, if you're a basketball fan, listening to him, very enthusiastic, loves calling a game. And me and my friends used to sit around and watch him all the time when we were watching the game. So it'd be kind of fun to meet him and get a chance to go to the Final Four. So that's what I asked them if they could do. Now the people, I'm not saying this reflects on anybody here, but the people at the Long Island chapter have said, what? Final Four? I've heard of the Fantastic Four, the Final Four, and then it's what they kept calling it. We got a guy who wants to get the Fantastic Four. Final Four. Basketball. So after about three weeks of explaining myself and what is it again? The Fantastic Four? They were able to get in touch with some people, and finding a ticket was very hard to do because it is such a big event. Well, not according to the people on Long Island, but it is such a big event. And they met someone who was willing to donate a ticket, and then we got another person, so we wound up with 4 tickets, and I was able to take my friend Jake, my mom, and I actually gave the other ticket away because my dad was supposed to come, but he couldn't make it. So everything was great, from the people who were handling my wish to being picked up in a limousine to special treatment at the hotels. They set me up with going to a coach's banquet meeting, which the Vitale, everything was fantastic. But the reason why I was able to get that wish was because I originally did have cancer. When I was 16 years old, I was on Long Island, high school student, basketball player, loved to play sports, that was my whole life. Started noticing a lump in my, it was in my butt, actually. And I thought it was a hemorrhoid. Everybody laughed. I thought it was a hemorrhoid. what I did, and I was on some medication I had bad acne at the time. I was on medication mentioned, and I thought that was just one of the side effects. And when I stopped taking medication, it would go away. Well, it wasn't going away. So I went to the dermatologist, and I don't really think he wanted to stare at my ass. So he just said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay." So I decided to get a second opinion. So I noticed that I kept getting more and more pain. And in basketball games, I was getting more and more fatigue. Now, I had asthma, but this was a different kind of fatigue. My legs were giving out. I just didn't have the normal energy that I did. I couldn't really sit down at all. Hard surfaces were almost unbearable for me. So after one game, one night, my dad taking me to a walking clinic. Now, at the walking clinic, they diagnosed me with an abscess. And they said, we'll send you to a surgeon. They will remove it and everything will be fine. So they sent me to the surgeon, went to the hospital, and they attempted to remove it, but what they did was they cut into it, and it was a tumor. It was a huge tumor. It was the size of a grapefruit. And that's when they found out. Now, they didn't know exactly what the problem was. They just thought it was a mass. They didn't know, so they biopsied it. So after they biopsied it, I'm sitting there waiting to go home, and I wanted to play basketball again. I wanted to get with my friends. And the doctor came in the room, and he was kind of upset. And I was talking to my dad. Then he asked to talk to my dad outside. And I could hear little bits and pieces of what he was saying. And I heard, my doctor start to cry. My dad start to cry. So my dad came back in, and he didn't really know what to tell me. He just said, well, you're sick. They don't know what they're going to do. They're going to send you to a place in the city, and then he left, and he went to go call my mom, and I was just sitting there wondering what was going on. So about an hour later, I couldn't take it anymore, got out of my bed, and started walking down the hall, and I went to a room, and there was my sister, my mom, and my doctor, and all of them were sitting around, most of them crying. And I said, well, what's going on? And the doctor told me, well, you have cancer. And I said, okay, cancer. It really registered to me. How can I have cancer? I don't get cancer. I'm 16 years old. So cancer's old people. What does that mean? And he just said, well, we don't really know. We're going to send you to the city, and they'll take care of it there. So I was sent to Sloan Kettering in the city, where they were to reevaluate me and to see exactly what was wrong with me. Before I went to the city, I stopped off at my high school, went to a Christian high school, and they prayed over me, and everybody was crying, and everybody was, how could this happen to you? We don't know if we'll ever see you again. And that was it. I didn't know if I'd ever see these people again. I knew I was sick. I didn't know I didn't know what anything meant. So when I went to the hospital, and I was able to get more answers, but not understandable answers, because I'm sure that when you start your treatments, cancers, you don't know anything about it. You don't know any of these different types of medicines they put you on. The only thing you know is that you're going to lose your hair and you're going to throw up. At least that's what they tell you. So for me, being an athlete and always having strength, that was kind of traumatic as the months went on. But I did get a little bit of good news when I got to the hospitals, because originally when they diagnosed me at the hospital in Long Island, they diagnosed me as terminal cancer at about 3 months to live. Then after that, they re-diagnosed me at Sloan, and they decided it was just a rare form of cancer called rhabdomyosarcoma that was a little more treatable, but it's very aggressive, so they have to treat it very aggressive. So the protocol called for 5 treatments of chemotherapy with 2-week doses of radiation, followed by a bone marrow transplant, which is all take place in an 8-month period. Transplant was probably the toughest thing I've ever gone through in my life. My uncle was there with me for part of it, because my mom couldn't handle every day. It was so draining on her, and she needed a break, one break. She was there with me for almost 4 days, watching her son die in hospital. It probably wasn't the best thing for her to see. My Uncle John was there within hours, came to stay with me. There was a weekend when my counts were going down, and I had a lung infection, and my bladder had exploded, and I couldn't urinate, and it was, everything was pointing toward death. I had one of my Broviacs that they treat you with chemotherapy became infected, and they had to operate on it, take it out while I was away. Part of the joys of that week. So they had called, they told my mom and dad, so you better call his relatives because he's not going to make it through the weekend, which they did, and my friends all came to see me. But a funny thing happened after that night is I started to get a little better. My count started to come up a little bit, and I started to notice little bits of improvement that hadn't been there. Now with a bone marrow transplant, it's always usually risky because of somebody else's bone marrow. But for me, it was my own bone marrow, what they did, because my bone marrow never showed any signs of cancer. But they decided to do it anyway, give me a transplant anyway, just for precautionary reasons. After that, in about October, I left the hospital. I wouldn't say for good because I was back in 2 days later after I relapsed my bladder. And I had to be on IV home therapy just because my bladder was so badly damaged that if I didn't constantly have fluids in it, it would clog up, and it was just not a fun experience to go through. That lasted until about March of 1992. I was able to go back to school in January, and since then it's just basically adjusting to everything that I went through over that year period. I was able to go to college. I now work for ESPN. I do research for them. It's a good job. It is. A lot of people would want to have it because of the people I get to meet, the things I get to do. Drawbacks are obviously you work nights, you work weekends, you work holidays. You don't really have much time for family and friends. But one of the things that I would like to do in the future is more things like this. I also, speaking with the B Foundation, because I met Jim Valvano when I was out on my wish in 1992, right before he died of cancer. And they sent me a packet about 2 weeks ago with essays that I have to grade for a Share the Spirit program they have of teaching kids and how to deal with, and grade schools how to deal with their parents or family members that have cancer. I would love to be able to go and tell my story to people and to encourage people and to talk to kids and to talk to parents or anyone that is sad about things, or anybody that has issues with their kids being sick, or anybody that just need answers, because they can look at me and see that there is life after it, and it is something that, although unpleasant, because there was really nothing that didn't happen to me when I was sick. I went through the whole gauntlet. And it encouraged people to see and hear my story and to other stories I'm sure you hear today. I think that's an important thing in the future for Make-A-Wish and for the B Foundation to have spokespeople that go out and continually preach the organizations and encourage people. And just for me, getting to come here and to speak and to tell people makes me feel good. And I'm sure it has many benefits to the people who are hearing my story. So that was something that I would like to do in the future. I think that's about all.
Great.